Hello and welcome to our female visibility in XR panel. It's super important topic. Please welcome our panelists Sara Vogl, Saskia Groenewegen, Gabriella, Chihan, Stanley, and your host, Andy Fidel.
Hi everyone, welcome to XRcon. Thank you for joining us digitally here, right in Hamburg, Germany at the nextReality.Conference. And I do hope everyone is enjoying their time, and be sure to stick around after to mingle and connect with the people here. Because the best thing about summits and conferences is the convening of communities. We're all essentially here because we share similar passions and dreams. So my name is Andy Fidel. I'm a creative XR producer, building social experiences for remote communities, making local conversations, global discussions. Founder of the Get Social Network, and still wandering about the multiverse, exploring the social side of immersive reality. And so thank you for the introduction, Suzanne. Today, I'm going to be moderating this panel on female visibility in XR. And we're curious to hear what our four experts here have to say about female representation in XR. And so before I start, I want to give a brief introduction of the panelists. We have Sara, who is the co-founder of Women in Immersive Technology. She's been building and exploring immersive experiences since 2013. Sara is on a mission to go beyond the status quo of what immersive virtual realities are and could be, to explore their diverse potentials for the future. Sara works with sensors, haptics, and the intersection between algorithms and real worlds. Saskia Groenewegen, principal expert VR and AR, with over 15 years of experience with virtual and augmented reality. Saskia heads a creative and technical team in the Netherlands, building innovative solutions for VR and AR devices at a fast and agile pace. Whether that's creating interactive maps for emergency services, sales tools for agriculture, to e-learning apps to learn the basics of electricity. We also have Gabriella, Chihan, Stanley, co-founder and COO of vrisch and founder of XRVienna. Gabs is the co-founder of immersive entertainment company vrisch and the founder of Austria's biggest community of XR professionals and enthusiasts, XRVienna. At vrisch, she focuses on improving people's lives by helping them learn, understand, have fun through purposeful XR. Through XRVienna, she helps both XR creators and users to have an egalitarian, respectful, and cozy platform for dialogue and knowledge exchange. Gabs has been working in the field of technology and advertising since 2002, adding VR to her work in 2013. In 2018, Forbes selected her as one of Europe's top 20 women founders. So thank you again so much for gathering today. And it's time to pass the microphone to our guest here. So the metaverse with a capital M, or the multiverse, is, to say the least, a trending word at the moment. So let's kick off the conversation with a few words about it. What are you most passionate about? What potential and future does this technology hold and medium enable? And most importantly, what matters to you most? And so I'll let anyone here in the panel just jump in, first one who wants to answer the question.
Thank you so much, Andy. And also thank you so much for the introductions. I'm really happy we were able to come together still. And thanks so much, Farina, for like the quick fix and solutions to make this all work.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Everything that Sara said, I completely agree with. So your question, the metaverse. So let me start then with an answer. So metaverse, to me, the first thing I think of is Snow Crash, right? The book where it comes from, which I read as a teen, and I loved like the whole idea of the social VR world where you can meet other people. And then I also got to like when I was a PhD student, I worked on a project in Second Life. So I spent a lot of time in this kind of early metaverse, which is really cool. So the first aspect I'm really passionate about is just the social aspect of it, like meeting people from all over the world. It's so amazing. But then there are also like the technical or the more business aspects of it that I see now, and especially in the future. Please, everybody else, please feel free to interrupt me, so I won't, keep talking. But like what we think, what we also call, for example, the AR cloud, right? It's like overlaying information over the real world, which we already have now in all kinds of applications, like helping people repair stuff, for example, with the HoloLens. But if you have that worldwide, how cool would that be if you can just, see extra information when you just walk around in a new city easily through your glasses, for example, or then the potential of VR for training in like environments that you could never actually access. I think that's also part of the metaverse. That's not part of the social part of it, which I think is really, really interesting.
I kind of, hi everyone. I hope I'm not talking on top of someone else, because that's like my classic move. But I just wanted to add to what Saskia said about the metaverse, no? That I also see it as a very social endeavor that we have, like a new way that we can communicate and interact with one another in a seamless way. But at the same time, like for me personally, is like a box of questions. Let's see. And this is what I find exciting about it, like from many perspectives. Like I'm a mom as well, so I'm very curious about how like our interactions in the virtual world are going to change. Like not too much for me anymore, because I honestly see it as an exposure therapy for me, like to be more and more used to it, but more like to understand how like future generations are going to communicate, or how they're going to perceive one another, and how are we going to interact in between realities. So this is what's interesting for me, like the many questions are coming with it.
Thank you. I know you're totally good to jump. This is a group question. Okay, so next question is for Sara. So in this new age of tech and communications, the word visibility fundamentally comes in pairs with the word expression. So the freedom to explore and to experiment the meaning of story or identity is one of the biggest beauties of XR. There's also the notion that immersive projects generally require us to work in teams. And oftentimes these teams make us collaborate internationally. So as the saying goes, it takes a village. Sara, tell us about your recent works and the findings in spatial networks and immersive storytelling that you found. And this one is like the hashtag self-expression.
The potential there in terms of self-expression of what I was doing recently. So I had a piece that was premiering at the Venice Biennale VR Extended this year. And so I performed that live for 19 days. 3 times a day with like full body tracked dancing, where I basically like took people on a journey with me to experience like a part of my life story, I would say, or a part of like what I'm experiencing now entering VR. So it's a piece about skin and belonging. And because VR is such an intimate medium, and I can take those visitors like right with me, embodied in my avatar, it really opens this possibility for this closeness and like telling these intimate stories in a whole other world that supports the context, and maybe also like gives an opportunity to loosen up some subjects that might be rather hard to digest when you're trying to like perform about it in the real world. So I love all the elements of abstraction that are possible in VR. So when I'm doing my shows with my full body tracking setup and also my wireless headset, I perform also on a sports pole to add that element of like otherworldliness and bring that in VR. So to really have that expression of movement that we're actually not used to in VR. So we know a lot of like animations and a lot of like, you know, like pre-programmed movement, but this real like human presence that is shared with others, I think that's really, really special for me. And it's also a thing that I would never do that in real life, where people could see my real body. And so I think for these cases where people just also want to embody some other being or some other like gender or body shape, I think it's a huge opportunity to like self-express what might not be possible in the real world. So, and yeah, and all of that in social spaces just makes it so much better, because you are able to share that with other people, right? So yeah, that for me is like the total magic of more and more people entering VR social spaces or the metaverse, however you want to call it. Yeah, thanks so much for that question. That is really what I'm most passionate about.
Saskia, Gabs, do you have any comments or questions as well? I did have a little bit of time between each question if you wanted to also have a little bit of dialogue between us.
So I want to say first, I love what Lisa is doing, and everybody should go check out her work. on Twitter. Sara, do you want to share? Do you want to maybe tell a bit about what exactly it is you're doing for the people who don't know yet? Because I think it's great.
Sure. Thank you. First of all, like for the support. So I'm basically putting like Vive trackers on my feet and hip, and then I have a Vive Pro with wireless adapter and the index controllers on my wrist. And so I have a virtual pole and a real life pole that I'm aligning to have the overlap. And I'm basically doing dance performances with like extensions to my avatar, like certain trails or bubbles or like anything that fits the environment that I'm in. And yeah, I'm definitely, if we have the time later, gonna post links about where you can like find infos of the performances.
Thank
you.
you.
Sara, I have a question for you, like really, really quick, easy, down to earth question. Like how long did it take you to get used to have all these sensors in your body, because I imagine like I would feel like, like when you put these little booties to the dogs in the rain, that you feel like awkward like this, and you don't know, like I would feel like this. I'm very curious about your experience. Did you feel them still, or was it like a natural for you that you didn't feel it at all from the beginning? Like I'm very curious about it.
Really, really good question. So it is actually very, very hindering and very different. And you cannot dance as freely as in like without the trackers. So it's really that a lot of movements actually don't work at all because the IK is not made like laid out for that. And so I really had to go ahead and basically relearn dancing for VR, like what kind of movements work, how I can put my feet so I'm not squeezing myself between the trackers. But I still like sometimes unplug my cable by accident and then crash. So that still happens. But yeah, it's really a whole different thing to perform in VR compared to real life.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thanks.
Yeah, Sarah, and one last question. What are people's reaction? Because a lot of platforms don't allow yet for live tracking, and a lot of social VR platforms are inhabited by people, the screenies, right? So coming from a computer or an iPad or even a phone. So like, is this something that people just stop and wonder or ask you? Like, what are people's reaction to having so much body language, which I think is available on some platforms, but still something that like, does it bring wonder to people? Like what are, I want to hear about the reaction.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people are first like thinking that it's an animation because usually you don't have wireless tracking and the Vive trackers. And so, usually people are just like, what the hell? Like, what are you doing? And how are you doing it? And then when they hear about the whole setup, they're a bit more like, oh, okay, that's like a bit of a bigger hustle to actually set it up. But the also like people that are first a bit like, what, you do pole dancing in VR, really? Like they're a bit like, oh, what is that all about? And I'm not a big fan of pole dancing. When they see how it actually looks in VR and that it's more like an acrobatic show, like more like a kind of circus like approach, they really, really like it. So I think it still has a bit of stigma on it when people hear about it without seeing the visuals. But as soon as I meet the people and I do it, they're all like, oh my gosh, I have to get a pole. Like, this is so cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Is there anything you want to talk about self-expression before we move on to another topic?
All clear.
All right. Okay. So next up, let's talk about female in business. And for this, I'm going to pass it over to Saskia. As someone who's been part of the VR and AR industry for so many years, 15 is just mind-blowing. You've been here since the start. What are some key learnings you've encountered on creating a sustainable career in this immersive tech field? Like, what advice would you give to up-and-coming female or diverse entrepreneurs looking to enter and to grow into this XR space? And what can we do as a community, as women, diverse, and allies, everyone, to pave a new way for a more inclusive XR professional space?
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for your question, Andy. Let's think. Well, first of all, I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't have my own company, so I'm in awe of all of you who do that. And I'm a technologist, I'm a software engineer, so I can speak from that perspective. And in terms of starting your career, well, for me personally, it was very basic. I got a computer science degree, right? So I learned to program. If you want to go into VR, my suggestion would be learn one of the two most well-known game engines that are used everywhere. That's Unity, where you have to know the C# programming language, or Unreal, which is a bit less used with C++. So then you have a really good basis for getting an engineering type of job in VR or AR. So that's like kind of the basic for me. And then in terms of career, for me, what has been really important are a couple of things. There's networking. I go to meetups, you go to conferences where you can meet like-minded people. But sometimes, like depending on where you work, you can feel like, I know, there's not always people that you connect with. And sometimes, you know, you're the only woman on a team, for example. And then if you go to those events, you meet all those people that are out there. Same thing goes for things like Facebook groups. Like there's this amazing group that Sara and Lisa also founded, Women in Immersive Tech. I love that group. There's so many amazing women that work in VR in that group, and that you can like exchange your views on. Another thing, find a mentor at work, someone who supports you and someone that you can talk to, like someone who's further down the line in their career path. If you have questions, that can be really helpful. And to me personally, also, I think it's really important to work for a company that has the same values. For example, that values diversity, right? That does not like have a website where that's full of like only like one type of person, usually like white and male, but where you can see that they really value diverse voices in their teams that have like, I forgot the name of it, but like basically diversity statement, for example, on their website, those kinds of things. And some companies are really good at that. So that's from the work perspective. And then on a personal level, also anyone, please, you know, feel free to add to what I'm saying. I always feel like I'm talking like into the void, but personally, like choose your partner wisely. I think for me and for many women, that's a really important life decision. Like if you have a partner that has the same values as you in regards to a division of labor, right? Or raising the kids, who does the work. And there are still many women, sadly, that are basically held back by, like, let's say, with old-fashioned notions of who has to do all the homework and who gets to have a career. And sometimes you make this decision of like marrying someone early in life, and then it has a big influence on the rest of your life. So these are kind of my tips for work. And then to get to your second question, how can we make it a more diverse and inclusive professional world, the XR space, which at the moment, unfortunately, is not like 100%. And something that I talked with Gabs about yesterday, which I think she has some great ideas as well about, is create spaces where people feel welcome, right? Where you make it obvious that not only one type of person is welcome, which was, you know, traditionally like the tech nerd, but because there's so many more people in the XR space. Examples for that, like easy things to do are like have a code of conduct for your meetup. If you give out goodies, if you give out clothes, don't like give out women's sizes in church. Like that's one of my pet peeves, like conferences who like give you a free shirt and then with the words, here you can use this as a nightgown. Like happened to me so many times. And it just, then I have this idea, like, you know, you just don't value the people with different body shapes, like that are women, and why don't you have t-shirts for them? Like if you want to go further than that, if you want to support parents, for example, you can even think about offering things like daycare at your conference, if it's a big conference. I've seen some conferences do that. It's awesome. And it just sends the signal of you are welcome here, even, you know, if you have small kids at home. So I think that's really important. And Gabs had some other ideas about that. Maybe you can tell us about that.
I have many.
Yes.
But okay, no, I thought that you were going to continue.
No, I was done pretty much now.
I do funny things when I'm nervous, you know, like I talk a lot when I'm nervous. It's a blessing and a curse, you know, at the same time. So I tend to, like, you know, the Latin way, like I just interrupt people, you know, because that means I'm engaged in the conversation, you know. But no, I second everything you said, you know, like starting from having a partner that supports you, you know, like my partner, my husband also works with me. Like we are co-founders of the XR production company. So we literally share everything, you know, so I wouldn't have done it without his support, no? But I really second what you said about creating the environment, right? To be able to have women or humans feeling comfortable with the environment being who they are. like whatever that means, and when you were talking about, I'm a tech geek, so I behave such and such way, I mean, I think we have to kind of open the field, let's say, to get rid of like stereotypes, because the more we fall into stereotypes, the less opportunities we give to others to kind of enter the game. And I think this is precisely what you said, Saskia, that these environments are crucial to see this innovation when it comes to humans, when it comes to behaviors, which is so much needed in our industry, right? I mean, like we deal with human experience, in the front line of battle, so we can't discard our personal, unique human experience, like just get rid of this formula, right?
That was a great point. Thank you, Saskia. In terms of if you want someone to feel welcome, we'll have them be acknowledged in this space. Are there other advice or learnings that you've had in terms of like maybe client collaborations, like people that are new to XR, like having your voice or having also your ambition, right? Like how do you bring that to the table as well?
I'm not sure I understand the question completely. Do you mean like how do you start out if you were interested in XR and want to have a career in that? Or sorry.
Yep. What was your second? No, I was saying more like at the table, right? Like when you're having a conversation, and I mean, your agency works with other clients and other people that are maybe new to XR. So like, how do you also share your knowledge, right, and just bring your voice to the table?
Yeah, I think that's actually one of the really great things about working in the XR field, that it's so new. So many, there's a lot of clients who already have done XR and that are experienced with it, but many of them are also completely new to that field, right? And they don't know, they've heard about this new technology, and they don't really know what it can do. And they have some ideas from like science fiction, and then a big part of your first start of a new project is like basically this journey with the client of what can you do, and like educating the client a little bit. And personally, I usually do that by just showing them a couple of projects that we've done. Like I work for a company that develops software for other companies that helps people train, for example, in VR, or that helps them repair things with augmented reality glasses. So usually I just talk them through other projects that we've done before. And it's really cool to see then people like realize how those new technologies can actually help them in their daily work. Does it answer your question?
Yes. Thank you. I think this leads also to like, let's talking about technology and talking about also community and bringing our voices. So going to like more like tech for good and convenient communities, but we've all intentionally or accidentally created global communities that empower female or diverse identities in the immersive tech field. And so, Gabriella, I want to bring this question to you because I love that I saw on your LinkedIn you have this motto in XRVienna that is no ego, no shame. Under our roof, we're all equal. And so, like, what does it mean to you to be a woman in XR today? And what are some pivotal moments, some learnings or some challenges that you've encountered in this journey of convening community together?
Oh, wow. There's so much I can say about this, but I will try to stick to the point as much as possible without going to every single branch I find interesting. But so in order to talk about XRVienna, that is our community here in Austria, like I need to start by talking about impostor syndrome in women, since this panel is about female visibility. So as a woman in tech, especially as an old woman in tech, I mean, you're like, fresh babies, in a good way, like I'm already like scarred everywhere, no? But anyway, so come this time, I felt as if like from one side, the very traits that made me as a woman were a threat to my career as well. For example, my motherhood, my frivolity, my sensitivity, always treated as things that they needed to be suppressed or hidden in order for me to have the right impression and be able to thrive in my career. Like who I was felt like it was irrelevant because my value depended on how much knowledge I could store in my brain and repeat it like a parrot to the crowds, right? So and that made me so miserable. And you know why? Because I felt like a product who needed to be standardized in order to be valuable. And that really sucks, doesn't it? So XRVienna was born to change that dialogue. So my intention with XRVienna was to be able to share knowledge while also staying true to yourself without having to live up to any unnecessary expectations. So as a South American living in a DACH country, which is a completely opposite worlds, something I do see as a big difference from what I call home, and in my perspective, is the incredible importance to emphasize what you know over who you are. And in my experience through community work, I saw how much this emphasis was paralyzing people to either think creatively for the fear of screwing it up, or not identifying themselves with what they thought was expected from, like for you to know, to act, and to be, and so on. So I wanted to start a new dialogue through XRVienna. Like, I didn't want people to come and share the whats of their work, but their whys of their professional journeys. So as someone coming from the TED events world, actually, like this was actually my first job here in Vienna, to be part of the TEDx Vienna team. I wanted these personal whys to reveal these unspoken stories and make people appreciate one another as humans, instead of two-legged search engines or talking encyclopedias, And especially in the context of XR, where we are so much in the front of line of human experience. Like, I believe that detaching our uniqueness as humans was an obstacle. So as a Latin mama that I am, like, my priorities were: one, creating a cozy atmosphere from day one, and two, acknowledging that I was there as the person who gave the stage to people instead of being the one in the spotlight. Like, I knew nothing, Jane Snow. So I don't know. I mean, some of the things we did to create this cozy atmosphere, for example, like as we were mentioning with Saskia, was arriving to the event and receiving a name tag, for example, with a fantasy name in which you could introduce yourself as a person you were dreaming to be that evening. All was valid. Or creating handwritten notes, homemade cookies and sandwiches that we would pass around in Tupperwares during the events, like all aiming at, proving people how genuinely happy we were of having them over. So I remember once we made seed bombs with our own hands and gave them to each of the attendees with a message saying, like, there's always a new chance to grow something new, and so on and so forth. So since day one, there was only one rule at XRVienna that we were guarding fiercely, and that is, under our roof, there are no rookies or superstars. We were a family. So you were a student with no job experience. We were sure that your fresh ideas were going to inspire veteran creators in unimaginable ways. And if you were an XR veteran, then your vast street smartness, let's say, was immensely valuable to beginners as well. So we started the mixing, We mix art, science, business, local talent, international talent, mothers, geeks, entrepreneurs, introverts, extroverts, you name it. And we made them talk, debate, disagree, and agree, cry, kiss, and make out. I don't know. And in the end, understand each other a bit better. And so how did we do that? Like by actively acting as the defenders and facilitators of diversity. That was key. So encouraging the quiet to talk and reminding the loud to shut up from time to time, like I'm doing it now. If I'm talking too much, just shut me up. So by giving the stage to newcomers and help them prepare by reminding experts that there was still so much room for them to learn. And what happened with this, like we started seeing more and more women during the events, to the point that there are almost more women than men at a tech meetup, and wow, right? And why is that? Because there are many reasons why, but I can tell you my favorite one through a story. Like a very young female student once approached me during one of the events, and she told me, Gabs, this is the first time I feel like I don't need to be someone else in order to be someone. And I get really emotional when I talk about this, because proof that it's working, right? So, and to go back to your question, Andy, being a woman in XR today, for me, feels as exciting as it is challenging. And there's still a lot of work to be done to tilt the scale. And women need to see more women with heart as much as talent rocking the XR scene and being accepted and treasured for it. So women who dare to ask difficult questions and defy the established, and having the support they need to thrive in this mission. And we as women have so much to give to this industry, and this is far from being a one-woman's job, right? And yes, this also includes men, gentlemen. So we are here to make it happen together, right? So yeah, that's what I need to say about this. I hope I didn't talk until tomorrow or something, but
Of course not. It was wonderful.
Yes, amazing. You phrased that all so well. I couldn't agree more. And then one thing I would like to add is we talk about women on this panel, this is a panel about women, but actually all these points are just for diversity in general. You can make them, right? It's about people from different cultures, people from different skin colors, just people with different voices. And I think Gabs has some amazing ideas how to get those voices into your bubble.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's so much trial and error on these things, like we have to be willing to try new things that are not sometimes recommended to do, like, okay, we show a vulnerability, for example, and this is not an easy thing to do. But if we really want to change the rules of the game, because the rules of the game need to be changed in order for women to be seen with their real value in a holistic way, in a diverse and rich way, we need to bang our heads against the wall from time to time, and it's not the end of the world, right? I mean, it's not that, okay, there are second chances, right? I mean, like, we need to discard this idea that, okay, we screw it up once and then everybody's going to turn their backs on us, and then it's like, okay, game over, right?
That's super well said. Sarah, do you have anything to add? Because you also have a community of your own and went through that process as well.
Yeah. Do you see this? Like, that's me.
Oh,
Can you see me? Yeah. All right. So I do also work a lot with community, and I started like right when I got into the VR scene, because there were like so few like other females that I could interact with, and I really, really value the exchange with other women. And I think like other like women in general, or also diverse people, are super, super important to include in all the like development and the creation of these new digital spaces that we're sharing. And so it was always something that was like just like something that I wanted to have, like a community of supportive women. And I think we're still working on building that, like it's actually like every week or like every like month, something new and exciting happens. Yeah, to be honest, we're just growing like from event to event. Like we're figuring out like what does the community actually want and like. We started since the beginning an ambassador program where we basically work from the ground up. So in each European city, we have an ambassador that helps like activate the local scene. And I'm still like each and every time we have a call with our ambassadors or we're hosting events and so on, we're still like looking to like, okay, well, what does this actually mean for us? How do we want to define this community as it grows? And like where do we want to go with this? Like how can we best enable like growth for underrepresented groups in this field? Yeah, I don't even know how good of a job we're doing. We're just trying to do it with like the best we can, and like try to like do these initiatives. It's all like more or less free time work. It gets like the bigger the community gets, the more time consuming it gets. And we're just in the process of also bringing in structures that should help us like grow in a more sustainable way for everyone involved. So for us, it's really just like trying to come together and just like try to enable and help each other as good as we can with like what we have available right now. Yeah. I
Fantastic. Guess. Yeah, I love that you're the avatar. Amazing. Unfortunately, we can't ask questions to the audience because we're in I don't know how to say it in English, décalage. But I had the last question for the 5 minutes that's left to Gabs. It does sound like, like we start out with something local, right? Whether it's in our city or it's a topic that we really love, and then it just kind of catches fire and we just kind of let it grow. But for someone who's like seeing your communities that are like for them so big, how and when do you start? Like someone just like coming out of here out of nowhere, maybe they know just a little bit about VR and AR, but they're not finding their own, maybe their clique or their niche. How do you even start? Like what day with what topic, or like what were your like first tiny beginning moments? I'd love to hear that, Gabs.
Okay, so do you mean from the point of view of someone who wants to attend an event, or someone that wants to organize an event, or both?
And just start it off and kick it off.
Okay, well,
because looking at all yours, they look so global. It's like it's almost like it's impresionant, like we say in French.
Impresionant. Spanish is impresionante, so it's super. No, I mean, like I would say, like first of all, I would say be curious, be open-minded, and also don't be afraid to fail. And one thing, for example, is make like the simplest questions are the ones who lead to the biggest results. Like for example, with XRVienna, we started like, okay, who else was out there, like, and what do they know, and how we can combine our superpowers to be bigger than the sum of our parts. And yeah, I mean, it does take a lot of embracing vulnerability as well, from my perspective and in my experience, but communities are the perfect place to do so. because a good community is one that is going to encourage you and everything that comes with you. So, and there's not two communities are made equal. So invest time in getting to know what community fits you best. And it's also a process that requires a lot of soul searching, let's say, because communities change and you change as well. So maybe what worked for you at the beginning doesn't work throughout the way. And technology changes as well. And maybe something that worked at the beginning to deliver your message needs to be revised. So my advice in a nutshell would be start something, but don't get too comfortable with it. Don't look back and always look forward.
I'm not going to say anything after that. That's like the last quote.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining and also for being so spontaneous to go to Zoom. That's really amazing. I'm overwhelmed by your support. And also, Sara, your avatar looks really, really great. I really love it.
Amazing, yeah.
It's so nice. Okay, yeah, thank you for your insights and all the community talks. It was really interesting. I think we can have later on chats because maybe some of you are still able to join the platform later in the afternoon and people can talk to you, and also you are all available in social media and we linked your accounts everywhere. That's really nice. So thank you for attending.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much for the
again.
opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.